I apologize. Today, we will be continuing our Learn About Lean series with speaker Jose Cabral of CCDI, and today's topic will be standard operations. Thanks for joining us today, Jose, and you can take it away.
All right, thank you. My name is Jose Cabral. I'm with CCDI, CNC Diverse Integrations. And like Rebecca said, we'll be talking about standard operations. So let me get this going. All right. So this is my teach point number 6, standard operations, which is the 4th building block for continuous improvement. So again, we'll review, what does a customer require? So 100% right the first time at the lowest possible price and 100% on time. So the QCD, so quality, cost, and delivery. And what do we need to provide as producers of this? So 100% right the first time at the right cost for us and 100% on time. Safely, of course. So for this, what do standard operations play? So in anything that we do in all of our companies, we always have inputs and outputs. So inputs are typically the people or our labor. In this case, we have the man, the material. So what you have to produce your product or your service. And then the machine could be anything, a simple computer or an actual piece of equipment. The method, which is what we will be focusing on today for how we do our standard operation. And then of course the outputs for quality, cost, and delivery. So whatever your particular product or services for your customer. So what is standard work? The method of operation, which is most efficient and contains the least waste, is referred to as standard work in the TPS or Toyota production system. So the advantages of standard operation, and we'll get into this in more detail, is no improvement can be made if there is no set standard. So that kind of confuses some people. It's like, well, of course you can improve if you don't have a standard. Well, if you think about the example of running around a racetrack, if I tell you to take a lap around a racetrack and then you come back and I say, okay, improve that. Well, you're going to ask me, well, what do you mean improve it? Do you want me to take less steps? Do you want me to run faster? Maybe have a higher heart rate when I come back around? So that's the point of having a standard operation. You need to, usually time somebody running around a racetrack, and that would be a standard. Then when you tell them to improve it, you can say, okay, I want you to knock off 5 seconds on your time. And that's what we mean by you cannot improve without a standard. And standard work is not only a tool for improvement, but it's also a tool to look at your entire process and dissect it for other forms of waste. So standard operation is a combination of humans and machines to carry out production in the most efficient and safest way, and comprised of 3 elements, which we'll talk about. With standard work, so a couple of examples, and it doesn't only pertain to manufacturing. If you think about the restaurant business, especially fast food, whenever you walk into a restaurant and you order something, you expect it to be a certain way. If you come back in the next week, day, month, year, you want it to be the exact same thing every single time. And they usually accomplish that because they have standards. And with these standards, they usually have some form of sheets to train their cooks and their chefs on how to accomplish this. So if you were to go back behind the counter in a McDonald's, I'm sure you'll find a piece of paper that explains in great detail on how to assemble a hamburger. And if you go to any McDonald's store anywhere around the world, they're going to have something very similar. So this is a standard. Another industry is, for example, like a Tiffany store. Whenever you walk out of there carrying something you've purchased, you have that signature little blue box with the white ribbon on top. every time you go in there and you purchase something, that ribbon is tied in a very specific way that the Tiffany company wants. So you as a customer can expect that little blue box and that little bow on top every single time, no matter what the store is. So they have standard work for that purpose. Another reason for standard work isn't just improving, but it's also training. So whenever you hire somebody new to work for your organization, there's always a level of training that's involved. And, take it from my experience, and I'm sure many of you out there, it makes it vastly easy, much easier to train somebody when you have a pamphlet or something to show them. It's, this is how we fill out these documents to send off to corporate, or this is how we fill out this sheet so we can order this part, or, even as simple as this is how we mop the floors here because there's a risk for contamination or something of the sort. So everything that we do in any job or any workplace that we are in, it's very, very beneficial that we have standard work, especially here of recent, where you have a lot of influx of new people coming to join your organization. The more standard work you have, the easier it will be to get them trained and become a proficient employee for you. So back to these definitions very quickly. Tack time, work sequence, and standard WIP, or work in process or progress. So tack time, definition of tack time is the time at which the product must be produced to meet customer demand. So it's your total operating time you have throughout the day, be it an 8-hour schedule or 7 hours if you remove breaks and lunch, divided by the customer order quantity. So this is not to be confused with cycle time. These are two different things. So tack time is how long you have available to make the product based on your demand. Cycle time is how long it actually takes in the real world. So for example, if your tack time is 1 minute and your cycle time is 30 seconds, you're doing pretty good. That means you've got plenty of time to make your product, and you'll have extra time left over to maintain your machine, to take care of miscellaneous breakdowns and things of the sort. Now, if the opposite is true, so if your tack time is 30 seconds and your cycle time is 1 minute, you have a lot of work to do to decrease your cycle time in order to meet your tack time for your customer demand. And just here's a quick example. So the customer order quantity, we'll say, is 7,875 pieces a week. Our operating time, we work 5 shifts per week. So one shift is 7 hours of actual working time because we're taking out half-hour lunch and 2 15-minute breaks. So with our tack time, we have our 5 shifts per week times our 7 days, times 7 hours, times 3,600 seconds, divided by our 7875, which is our pieces per week, or it's a customer order quantity. And we come out to 16 seconds. So every 16 seconds, we have to produce said piece or widget. Next is the work sequence. So this is the sequence of activities that is performed to complete one cycle. Does not necessarily represent the part routing. So there's a lot of times when, for example, paperwork in the office is a great example of this. So if you have a file or a form that has to go through different organizations within your company that needs to be filled out, the work sequence, maybe that form begins and ends with you, but in the middle, you have to send it over to HR, or you have to send it over to planning, or you have to send it over to some other, the ordering department to get things filled out. So your work sequence, you have to follow that piece of paper, which in this case is your product, and you have to identify every single step on the way. This is another good thing for improvement. So, once you have this standard work showing that the flow of this piece of paper has to go through 7 or 8 different departments, you can step back and look and see that, man, this is really inefficient. So let's go ahead and consolidate some of this and try to get this filled out in one place. or make it so that the information is distributed at the same time so everybody can fill out their own piece and get the information back to you. And we have standard work in progress. So the minimum work in progress needed to perform the operation. For example, we have here on our very simple machine, there's parts on conveyors or parts needing time to cool or parts being assembled. They're just sitting in the middle of the process, seemingly not doing anything, but they need to be in that place because of long cycle times. So here in our little example, we have a welding machine, and in between the welding machine and the assembly process, we have a cooling fan. So the cooling time is 120 seconds. The takt time for our entire process is 30 seconds. So our work in progress needs to be 4 pieces so that we can have pieces cooling simultaneously while still meeting our demand. So now we come to what I call the ABC game. And we're going to observe a very, very simple machine that I have set up here where we produce an ABC. So this is an ABC. Let's see if that camera can focus on it. It's just a piece of paper with the letters A, B, and C. So that's what I'm going to produce. Then we're going to discuss what that process looks like. Create very quickly standard work, and then we'll discuss improving our standard work and how to make an ABC better. So I'm going to perform the cycle a couple times for you guys, and I know it's going to be a little bit difficult to see out in the rest of the room, so I'll probably move the laptop so you get a better view of the individual items. And all the while try to either take small notes if you have a piece of paper, or jot it down in your phone real quick, and we'll discuss all the different steps on the chat and try to put all this together. So without further ado, let's see, go back. Let's end this. There we go. So I stopped sharing, and I will move out here, and then I'm going to perform one cycle of the ABC and come back and kind of explain it. Okay. Is that good? Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm going to start right now. All right, so that was one cycle, and I know it looked like there was a lot of things going on. So make note of each part of the process, and also it might be a little difficult to tell, but try to make note of how many steps and about how long each of the items takes. And I'm not looking for 1.25 seconds, just round about to the nearest second. So I'm going to do this 2 more times in a row, and I want you guys to just observe the entire process as best as you can. Then I'll bring the laptop up to kind of show you how everything's set up. So here we go. All right, and I'm going to start right now. And I will do it one more time. Okay, so that is the ABC game. So as of right now, you have witnessed 3 full cycles of the ABC game. I'm going to carry my laptop. Hopefully you guys don't have motion sickness. And show you the first table. So we have here the completed ABCs and then some writing utensils. And then the other table is just a blank sheet of paper. All right. So everybody in the comments section, what is the first step? Don't everybody type at once. Very good. Stand up. Yep, stand. So what's the next step that I perform? Okay, so I stand, and what do I have to do once I stand from the chair? Correct. Walk to the table. Very good. Now, if you noticed when I showed you the table, there were several writing utensils, so I have to pick up the marker. So I walk over to the table and I pick up the marker. So now I have the marker in my hand. What do I do after I have the marker in my hand? Correct. Walk to the next table. So I walk to the next table that has that blank notebook. And then what's the next thing I do? Very good. Take the cap off the marker. So I take the cap off the marker. Now I'm ready, finally, to start producing my ABC. So I have the cap off the marker. I lean over. I write ABC. So after I've completed writing ABC, what do I do next? This is a lot more interesting if people talk, but we will type instead. There we go, cap the marker. So I put the cap on the marker. Now what do I do? Yep, tear the page, very good. So I have the marker capped. I have my ABC in hand. Now what do I do? So go back to the table. Yes, so I go back to the table. So Alyssa, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. So you kind of skipped a step in there. So I go to the table, and what is the first thing I do once I get to the table? Okay, very good. So I put the completed ABC down on the table. Now this is where some people get a little bit tricked. What's the next thing I do once I put the ABC down? Almost. So I don't put the pen down immediately. And I'll do one more round of ABC after. So what I do after I put the ABC down is I take, yes, I go to the other side of the table. I take a side step. It's a very small table, so it's a very small step, but I put the paper down and I sidestep to the other side of the table. Then I put the marker down. Okay. So once I put the marker down, I now have no objects in my hand. The ABC is placed on the table and complete. What's the next step in the process? Yep, going back to the chair. So I'm standing next to the chair, and what's the very last thing I do to complete my cycle? Yep, I sit down. All right, so now our process is I stand up, I walk to the table, pick up a pen, walk to the paper, take the cap off, write my ABC, put the cap back on, tear the paper, walk back to the table, place the ABC on the table, sidestep, place the marker down, walk to the chair, and then sit. So something a little more difficult. So we're going to do another one round because we've all seen it 3 times, and this 4th time won't be any different. Try to make a note for how many steps, and it'd be a little bit difficult because I know you guys can't really see my whole body because of the screen, but we'll just do the best that we can. So here we go, one more time. All right, and we will start. All right. So about how many steps? Let's see, 14 steps total. That was a lot. Let's see how many. Yeah, close. So it should be about 2 steps to each table, and the only one that's a little bit different would be the side step. So we should have about 10-ish steps total, like a couple little shimmy steps probably there in between. So with that information, typically in a classroom setting, we would be filling out this information all together, but because of COVID and everybody is very distant, we're doing it this way. So let's fill this out immediately. So this is what we call a standardized work combination table. It looks very busy, but it is actually very simple. So what I have on the left, you can see we have our different steps. And then here in the time, granted today, we don't have anything automatic. So there is nothing filled out in the auto section. But for example, if I had a machine that was printing out the ABC, I would push a button and then I would wait for the machine to complete, and then I would carry on my steps, and then you would put auto for that. Then here, kind of on the side, the walk, it's in between the 2 steps because walking is what we need to do to get to the next step. So that's why we have these number of steps in here. And we are just estimating about 1 second per step. Obviously some people walk faster, some walk slower, but this is just a very general guideline that we're using for our improvement process. So for this chart, the way it works, each of these little cells represent 1 second, as denoted by our time on top. This red line right here is our cycle time. And again, the cycle time is how long the entire process takes. So when we stand up we then walk to the table. So standing takes about 1 second. When we walk to the table, about 2 steps. Pick up the pen, takes another second. 2 more steps to the other table. Removing the pen top, writing ABC, and replacing the pen top is roughly 7 seconds, give or take. I tried my best to do about 7 when I was showing you. Tear the paper from the book and walk to the table. So tearing the paper, I was probably a little bit faster than that, but I'm estimating 3 seconds. Again, 2 more steps to the table. Put down the ABC, a couple seconds to get it aligned correctly on the table. then one side step to the end of the table, put the pen down a second, 2 more steps back to the chair, and then sitting down. So this is our entire process and our entire cycle for creating our ABC. So now that we have our ABC and we have our standard work combination table made, we can tell our boss that, look, it takes us 25 seconds to make an ABC. And they come back, that's great. But we just got a new order in. We have to take 10 seconds off of that. Let's see if I can bring, oops, wrong one. So we have to take 10 seconds off of our ABC. What are the things that we can do to improve that? Sorry, I'm trying to bring this chat thing up. There. All right. So we have our ABC game. So there you go. Scoot the tables closer. Very good. Put it on the same table. Excellent. So what other things can we do to improve our cycle time? Use loose leaf paper. Very good. Yeah, don't have to tear it. That takes out a couple seconds. So what about, so we put the tables closer. You get a stamp. That's very good. Yes. So the stamp would be a bit of a capital investment, but for the sake of this example, I'm sure you guys have heard this many times. We have no capital. We can't spend anything on this. We got to do this as cheap as possible. Great. Don't sit down. Well, if we're not sitting down, what's the point of the chair to begin with? So maybe we don't need a chair. Maybe we can, or if we do have to have a chair, move it closer to the table and we never stand up. Grab, sell the chair. Yeah, we could do that. So we move the tables closer together, we eliminate the chair, or we have the chair at the tables. So one thing that was on the table, we noticed that there were 2 other writing utensils there. If you had somebody new that you were training, that's a possibility for introducing some scrap. So if our ABC has to be written in marker and they write it in pencil, that's scrap. So another thing we can do for waste elimination is there is excess. So we simplify it by only having what we need on the table or just putting it right in front of us. So go back, share that screen. So again, our supervisor said to us, we need to take off 10 seconds. So with all the ideas you've listed, that's very simple. There we go. So if we move the chair, or we just have everything at, a table at standing height, we don't need to stand up, or we're sitting down. So we can remove that second. We can remove the 2 seconds of walking. Basically, we can eliminate all the walking. We have loose leaf paper, so we don't have to tear. So then basically we're looking at removing the pen top, writing ABC, putting the pen top back down, and then putting the ABC to wherever we need to put it. So then we go from 25 seconds to roughly, let's just say 10 seconds, give or take. And then we accomplish our goal in removing at least 10 seconds off of our cycle time. And with any good supervisor, the next thing they're going to say is, oh, great work. Now take off 5 more. So then you can get into, okay, now we're at the point we have to further improve, but it takes us, if we have to make an ABC in less than 5 seconds, we now have the data to show our supervisors that, hey, it takes us a minimum of 7 seconds to write an ABC or produce our ABC product. We need some capital investment. Then if we have, for example, a copy machine or a scanner and copier, a couple $100 of an investment, we can print out as many of these ABCs in a matter of seconds. And then you take that information, you have your presentation, and hopefully it gets approved. But that's the whole point of this entire exercise is, like with a lot of improvements, use your knowledge, use your experience, don't use your money first. I mean, anybody can throw money at an issue, but when you have this all in front of you, it makes it very, very easy to pick out the different wastes and the things that aren't actually adding any value to your product or your service. So if you eliminate those, it gives you more time to do what you need to do to provide your service or to make your material. And then again, make more money because you can hopefully sell more product. So that is the ABC game. Again, it's a little bit different on how we would normally train this, but I think everybody gets the general idea. So this sheet is the same as what we've just seen. But typically when we do these worksheets, not everybody has a computer in front of them. And honestly speaking, doing this in pencil and pen is by far faster than doing this on a computer. So this is one time where the old school way is actually better, in my opinion. So we'd print out these sheets and everybody would fill them out. So we have and in this one, the ABC game was a little bit different. So that's why the steps are different. We actually had a copy board where it's just a big screen that you use dry erase markers on, and then you push a button and it actually prints it would print the ABC. So in this one, you can see we have all our steps. In this example, we have an auto cycle because it would take the machine about 19 seconds to scan and print. We have about the same walking. The total cycle time in this one is 56 seconds. And then we have a tacked time. So our customer demanded time was 16 seconds. So with this one, the idea was to get that time much faster. So what is the standard work combination table? Like we've been discussing, it illustrates the manual and walking time of each process and helps clarify the appropriate workload for the operator. It also shows the automated process time and find out if there's any possibility to combine the manual and auto processes. So if you guys were if you were here for the very first episode and we were doing the toast example, basically the same idea as the ABC game. We're making toast is our product. And if you sit there and wait for the toast, it's a waste. You're waiting on your machine to complete the process. There are other things you can do while you're waiting on your toast. Get the butter knife out, have the butter cut and ready, things of the sort. Exact same idea, just a different game. So this is an example of a standardized work chart. The whole point of this is to illustrate the different parts of your process. And again, typically we would go through this and create this. But because of the time crunch and because it's very difficult to get this stuff out to everybody, we're just going to show you an example. The chair, which we determined was not really needed. Then we have our table with our pen and our completed ABCs. And then here, in this example, again, it's the copy board. So I would write ABC on the board and then push print. So that's the only big difference with this one. But the point of the standard work chart is to illustrate and show in a very simplistic manner all the different steps that we are doing. The symbols here denote when we're looking for safety or quality. So because in writing the ABC, that is our product, there's going to be concerns for quality. So when quality looks at our ABC, what is a good ABC? Is it black marker, green marker, red marker? Is it capital ABC? Is it lowercase ABC? Things of the sort. So those are things we'll define with the actual standardized work. And the last one we have is our standard sheet. This has many different names in industry. SWI for standard work instruction. It's also called SOP, standard operating procedure. But the idea for all of these different names in this is that this is the final document you want to make. So it has, again, all of our different steps. It has notes for things to look out for. And then on the side, always, always, always include pictures. It's like the old saying goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's so much easier to take a picture of your completed product or your document and show what a good one is that is filled out, and then show one that's not so good. So when you have a picture of what a good one is, it's very easy for the person or people you are training to look at it and go, okay, that's what I need to accomplish. And then if you include some that are, common mistakes or common failures, they'll know to look for those as they're doing their service or as they're producing something for you. So this is the actual document we're working towards making. And if you notice, we don't put any times on this. And the reason is, if they follow this to a T, then you can expect a specific time, because everybody should operate in the same manner. And then, you come back around and you train somebody on the standard work instruction, you set them up, they run it for a little while, and then you come back and you verify that they're doing the job correctly. And the verification is important. There's been a case where when I was in industry, we were working on a work cell, and there was a third shift operator that, somehow he was producing nearly double of the product of everybody else. And of course, everybody assumes that, he's just skipping steps and he's not doing the quality very well. And, he's doing it so fast, it can't be good. But, quality is continually checking the product that he was making. And according to them, it was good. So we visited him and took our standard sheet and we go, okay, show us what you're doing. So the process was, you take a part from a machine, you load it into another machine, you take the part out of the other machine that was processing, and you place it into the third and final. And the flow for the standard work instruction was basically following the pick and place of every machine. Well, when we watched him do it, he almost did it backwards, where he took one out from the middle machine, put it in the final machine, and went backwards and used both hands. And then when we were talking to him, we asked him, so why aren't you following the standard work? And he said, well, I could, but I have two hands, not one. It's faster for me to have one part in each hand and move it into the next process. And one thing he also added was, there's a girl I like to talk to on the other machine behind us. So it gives me, 30 seconds in between to go talk to her and see how she's doing. So, he was trying to work faster for other reasons, but when we observed him, we found a better way. And just like anything else in continuous improvement, the standard work instruction is not set in stone. It's just a standard. So we saw that there was a better way to do it. And unfortunately for him, it was the new standard. So then we almost doubled the output, and didn't have quite as much time to talk to the girl behind him. But that's the way it goes sometimes. So again, the whole point of this standard worksheet is to perform standard work so you can help train people and that you're getting a quality product. And the last one is not utilized quite as much. It's more for if you have a lot of work in process. Is the process capacity sheet. So if you're looking at your entire line or your entire system, you'll have minimum and maximum totals of parts in each process, and you're looking to improve the throughput and not have as much work in process. Let's see. All right. And then kind of summing it up, what are the benefits of standard operations? So allow management of the process, highlight areas for improvement. As we saw, there was a lot of improvement in our ABC game. Show safe interaction between man, machine, and material. Allow performance targets to be set and monitored. allow the best know-how to be captured. Again, when we go back and revisit, I always make it a habit to talk to operators or to talk to the people that are actually performing these tasks, because they do them all the time, usually every day, all day. They are the experts in the process itself. They know where the headaches are. They know the things that are the hiccups in the process, what bogs them down. And those are always the things that, we need to, us as management or engineering needs to work on fixing for them to make their process easier so they can do what they need to do more efficiently. So that sums up the training. A little bit more about myself and my company, CNC Diverse Integrations. We are basically, everything there is with PLCs and programming. We do a lot of machine integration with robotics, HMIs. We've been doing a lot of work with retrofitting. Anybody out there in industry, I'm sure you've got machines that are old. You're probably buying parts on eBay or Amazon. Stop doing that because they're going to run out. If you guys need help or assistance, please contact us. We're more than willing to assist. And we also do some consulting and training. Just like this training you've seen, it's not just limited to manufacturing. It's actually very pertinent to all businesses. So everybody has standards. Everybody needs to improve something. And this is just the lean way of thinking. So the last presentation we had was on 6S and trying to keep everything clean. We also do training on some basic programming and troubleshooting for machines, if you're within industry. And I will leave it at that. That is all I have for today.
Awesome. Well, there's a ton of great interaction today from everybody. So thank you guys for being so involved. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and throw them in the Q&A. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to do that, or you can throw them in the chat if that's easier. Thanks, Jacob, for always being positive. We appreciate you. You guys can join us again next month to continue our Learn About Lean series. Quickly, while there are a few of you, I'm going to throw this poll up real quick. If you're a To Be Connect member or partner affiliate, please choose your affiliation and let us know if you learned a new skill or a new skill today. Does not look like there's any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. So Jose, thank you again so much for your time. Truly appreciate it. And we will see you guys next month.